We are back
What's up?
for a third episode. No, this is our fourth episode.
Right.
I'm
Absolutely.
excited.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what? If you are watching, you are tuned into Unfiltered. So if you have not subscribed to Pastor's channel yet, go ahead and do so.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Please and thank you.
All of that stuff.
Yes, I'm excited.
Yeah.
We're about to enter into the relationship series.
Yeah.
Are you ready for it?
Yeah, I'm always ready for the relationship series because it's a chance for people, whether they're single, married, on the rebound, saved, sanctified, and satisfied, not looking for anybody, to know how to handle themselves in the relationships that we have. Yeah. Primarily the romantic relationships, but even like friendships and relationships within your family. And how do you manage, if you have a relationship that's romantic, how do you manage your family relationships and how does that all fit? So it's, from different angles and different, content each and every Sunday that we share.
What is the best advice that you've received dealing with relationships, whether they be friendships, whether they be in marriage? What's the best advice you've received?
I would say to have healthy relationships, number one, whether it's your friends, whether it's romantic, is respect. RESPECT.
Yeah.
Find out what it means to me. I think respect is always the first thing. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And just showing people that same common courtesy that you would like, that same consideration that you would like. I think relationships involve risk. You risk, okay, I'm going to pour into this person. I'm going to connect with this person, and hopefully they'll reciprocate at the same level that I do. And so you start with respect, and then you continue to respect and honor those relationships.
Respect is a big thing. I was recently watching Pop the Balloon because I do like that series.
So how does that work? I saw a piece of it. I wasn't familiar.
It works like this. So they'll have a lineup of either men or women.
Okay.
And they'll have a single man walk in or a single woman walk in. And just off of first glance or what they hear, they'll pop the balloon. So a woman may walk in and they may not like how she looked, they'll pop the balloon. If she starts talking and they don't like what they hear, they'll pop a balloon.
Okay.
So it's
that's a disprove. I disapprove of this person, or
off of appearance. Like, Some people have popped their balloons based off of, I don't like the color of your toe polish. I don't like that you have pants on that come above your ankles.
Right.
So I recently was watching Pop the Balloon, and a man asked, "What comes first, loyalty or respect?" And one of the women answered, I don't even think you could separate the two because they're in the same category. If you respect someone, you're going to be loyal to them.
Right.
If you're loyal to someone, obviously you respect them, right?
For sure.
So I think we're in a culture where we get a lot of those surface type of questions where it's like, are you a loyal person? And what's important, loyalty or love? And I think that they're all combined. I mean, am I wrong or am I right?
No, I think you're right. I mean, I think, again, it's all, Jesus even said this on one occasion. He said, the law is summed up in one term or phrase or concept, that you have love one toward another, that you have love. And so I think that love and respect kind of go hand in hand as well. When I respect a person, it's like I'm loyal to them. And so my respect for them, to your point, is I'm going to be loyal to them. Loyalty is, how do you stay committed in moments where you're tested? And if you're tested or tempted or tried, will you still remain loyal when you have options? Right. And so we could go in a myriad of ways with that. Like if I'm loyal to this job or this connection here, and I got another option. Wait a minute, but I've already made this connection here and I'm committed to them. So this is the agreement I have. So I'm going to stay with that. And out of respect to them, my loyalty says, I got to turn this down. And I spoke to our guys about this as well. I think number one, with this conversation, I think first, you're a female, you're a lady.
Yeah.
I'm a male. So we have different experiences in terms of the dating pool and our approaches to dating, all those kind of things. And so this is why I've written 2 books on, dating, love, and all those kinds of things. I do think we're in a transactional generation. I think that people look for, okay, what can you do for me? What do you bring to the table? I think from the memes to the social media to the content, you got to find somebody who has all this. And it's like, okay, well, what do you bring? And how do you all exchange what you have to offer. And so I think when we are looking for somebody, we have to look at that. We're just in a different time. I think the way that men and women present themselves is different. I think people have seen a lot of fractured and broken relationships. So people now have many more trust issues, especially as it comes to relationships. It's like, I don't know if I can trust you. And so I'm going to do a little something here, but I'm not going to give you my all, because my own personal experience has taught me people don't stay committed to what they say they believe in. And I'm looking at my parents, I'm looking at my grandparents. So I think it's a different generation, and I think that things have to be approached differently.
You have come from a household where your parents are still married. How long have your parents been married?
Yeah, my parents have been married almost, I want to say 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
I mean, so with that being said, my grandparents were married on both sides until their spouses died. So I have kind of that, thing I can look at and say, wow, marriage can work. So for me, I think that gives me a benefit to help teach other people.
And you and Lady Roxy have been married for 25 years?
It will be 25 years in June. Yeah, 25 years. And so, one thing about marriage, again, it's like, that's a whole nother subject matter that you have to, again, back to respect and loyalty. It's like I have to commit. I made a commitment, and so I have to follow through with my commitment. We committed to each other. No relationship is going to be perfect. You're always going to have tests, but how do you roll with those tests? And so we have to do a whole series on marriage alone, right? What does that look like? Because when you get married, the person you married at 20 or 25 or 28 is different when they hit 40.
Yeah.
They're different when they hit 45.
Everybody's evolving.
They're evolving.
Evolving, yes.
Yeah, and so you have to kind of reintroduce yourself. You have to relearn each other. You have to invest in that relationship to discover who are they at in this season. Ladies go through menopause. Everybody goes through like a little midlife crisis when they hit a certain age point. I haven't gotten there yet, by the way. But these are things that I teach people, like, hey, you have to be willing to roll with the punches, and as you said, evolve as the other person's evolving. In your relationship.
I strongly believe that love is an action. It's something that you have to really choose to do. I mean, even with yourself, you have to choose to love yourself through the certain decisions that you make.
Yeah.
Because let's say you are friends with someone, or you are in a relationship with someone, and you feel that it's not really serving you. I know that's selfish to say serving you, but I do think that we get to a point in our lives sometimes where relationships are no longer working,
benefiting us.
It's no longer benefiting, and sometimes you have to choose to love yourself and let go.
Yeah, and respect yourself. I mean, even with friends and friendships.
Yeah.
I mean, and so nobody wants to feel like the person who is coming off as if I'm better than.
Right.
But as you change and you evolve, you outgrow certain things. And sometimes friends and relationships, people grow apart. And so that can happen even in a committed marriage. You shouldn't grow apart. You should grow together. But you do have relationships that you kind of just grow apart, that your interests are different. And it doesn't mean that there's any tension. It's just like, I'm not really feeling that, and that doesn't serve me as it did. And so your interests and your focus have shifted. And I think, like you said, you have to, beyond love, you have to respect yourself enough to say, you know what, is this the best use of my time and my energy, my attention and focus? And I don't think maybe it is.
Yeah. So, Pastor, let's talk about single people dating non-believers.
Yeah.
Because that is a real thing. I think sometimes people do settle because they don't want to be alone. There are people out there who just don't want to be alone. Yeah, let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
what does God say about that?
There is what I've learned to do is be more, I don't want to say understanding, because we never compromise. And I've taught 1 Corinthians, I believe, chapter 6 multiple times. In fact, this year I'll be teaching from 1 Corinthians chapter 6 as it relates to, how people in marriage respect each other. When it comes to unequally yoked, the primary meaning of being unequally yoked is two beasts of burdens. You would put a yoke on their neck. They would plow a straight furrow. Farmers would use them to plow a straight furrow. So you would take a ox and put it with another ox. you don't take an ox and put it with a donkey because they have two different temperaments. And so they may start off okay, but eventually they're going to go into different directions because they're not equally yoked, as well as the level of how the yoke is going to fit. The ox has a wider neck. The donkey has a more narrow neck. He's not built for that type of plowing. So when it comes to Christians, you may believe in serving God, worshiping, giving your time, treasure, and talent. And the other person is like, why are you going to that church? Why are you? Now, it may start off puppy love and you don't have as much tension. And it's like, oh, well, I could make it work. They just, and we always have these ideas, well, maybe I'll get him to change. Maybe he'll come to church with me. Yeah. Or they'll come to church with me and they may come.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they're going to commit. So now you're trying to change. You're trying to pull them and get them to plow in the direction you're going and go the way you're going. And it's like, now it's a fight. And now what I've discovered with people is they oftentimes want post-counseling rather than pre-counseling. So,
like, how can we now make this work?
Yeah, how can we? And then you want to take up everybody else's time, i.e. the pastor and other people. I was married now. Pastor, help me patch this up. It's like, boo, you should have came to me on the front end and we could have talked and I would have shared some things with you maybe you didn't want to hear. But we're in such, even the generation we're in, people are so sensitive now that I saw a phrase a long time ago, a couple of years ago. It said, truth sounds like hate to people who hate the truth. And people don't like the truth. And so when you tell them the truth, you have to risk, okay, now how are they going to look at me after this?
Yeah.
But I have to have enough integrity and care about a person and say, look, I'm going to tell you this. You probably don't want to do this. And let me just throw this out there. We've all had relationships when you have matured that you thought this is the one. This is the direction it's going to be. Before I got married, I had a young lady I was committed. I was like, this is going to be my wife. We connected. And it didn't happen. And I had to go through the process of grief and pain and wow and all of that. And it can be painful. But when you reemerge out of that, you're like, man, I'm glad that didn't go
dodge the bullet.
I dodged the bullet. Come on. So,
and I think that's why God tells us to wait on him when it comes to certain people, because he'll give you discernment. You be like, that's not my husband, or that's not my wife. You know, and sometimes we be doing our own thing.
For sure. I mean, I think sometimes one of the messages I'm going to share is red flags. You know, Samson. So I don't want to get a whole message, but Samson and Delilah, David and Michael. You know, these are relationships out of convenience or out of desire that, you know, you kind of saw the red flags. And what I've discovered with relationships is some of the stuff that you laugh at now will make you cry later. You know, some of the stuff that is small will become bigger and larger in a relationship because you see the red flags and you kind of downplay them like, well, it's
Let
not
me
that
paint
bad.
these pink.
Yeah, right. Right. Pink. I mix in the middle. I just mix it up a little bit,
Mix it up a little bit,
and then you end up saying like, I knew it was my fault. I knew, you know, but you know, it's interesting, human nature, how we still go in spite of everything that we see sometime, downplaying it or, you know, hoping that it will change.
Every time I read the book of Samson's story, I get mad at that man every single time. I'm like, Samson, are you not paying attention to this woman? Because he was just so in love, like a man so strong, but just so soft on the inside. And really had a weakness in love for Delilah. And she did not do anything but toy with my guy.
For sure. I mean, and we could get deeper with that. You know, because I'm looking at the piece, and I've touched on this before, the soul ties. When you look at Samson's life, it didn't start with Delilah. He had several other relationships, and one of them was a prostitute even. So you picking up these habits and these desires and these cravings, and I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. Nowadays, people have relations and they build a relationship on relations. Are they good in the bed? I got to have a man who's this. I got to have a woman who's this. And it's like, okay, you do know a relationship is more than that, because as you mature and once you get old in your grandparents' age and all that, that's not even a factor.
Right,
It's,
right.
you know,
You
can
need
we,
more than
you
that.
need
You got
more
to be
than that.
compatible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
compatible, even
Mhm.
when before you get old and all that. But it's like there's some stuff that can offset that. Okay, so
Mhm.
this is great, the relations, but it's like they're not good with money.
Right.
And you're not the only one they're giving relations to. So you
Mhm.
got to factor in all these
Yeah.
things like,
Mhm.
okay, it's a lot more than that. And I think this
Mhm.
generation has been so overly saturated with sex and
Yeah.
sexy and sex appeal that it's like
Mhm.
it's so shallow
Yeah.
that people are making these bad decisions and are hurting themselves, and then
Mhm.
they're scratching their head saying, what's
What's going
wrong?
wrong?
And it's
Yeah.
like you starting it off wrong.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
you're not really building your relationships on
Quality things.
quality
Yeah.
things and the
Substance.
substance of people.
Mhm.
You're looking at all the shallow exterior
Yeah.
and all of that. Back to the whole
Mhm.
pop the balloon thing. So you popping a balloon
Yeah.
on small stuff that's like, but look at the overall. And so, yeah,
Pastor, we could go on and on and on and on
for
about
sure.
relationships. We're going to have another episode where we are talking a little bit more about relationships, talking about how we can thrive as Christians in a world where, it can be hard and the dating pool may not be as clean as you all want it to be. Thank you for tuning in to KSJ Unfiltered. I'm Courtney. This is Pastor Kenneth Sullivan Jr. And please join us next time.